What is up, guys? It is Wednesday evening. We're here in the Rise studio. We got Nick up here to do our second video cast. Tyler's behind the camera. At 9 o'clock, that's Eastern time, we have Tim Inslee at Badlands bringing us on live on their Instagram. So we're trying to pump out this video cast real quick, get this recorded, and we're going to hop on Badlands, and hopefully we see you guys over there. So look for us 9 o'clock.
Going straight for the throat.
All right, ready? Here we go. What is up, guys? We are here today recording episode 2 of our Rise videocast. We got Nick Cohealy in the studio today. What's up, Nick? How you doing?
Another day, just got off work, drove up here, do this with you guys, and then we're gonna be jumping on with Badlands a little bit later too. So
Cool. Yeah, no, we got we're trying to knock this out real quick. We got Tim Inslee over at Badlands bringing us on their Instagram live in about an hour. So
yeah.
we're kind of short for time here, but we're gonna get through some of these stuff we want to hit and have a little conversation, let you guys know what we're up to. And obviously, if you haven't seen our first videocast episode, head back into our YouTube, check that out. It'll give you a rundown of what we're doing here and what we've been up to the past couple of weeks. But anyway, this past week we got some new mics. It's a little more professional setup here. Last week we recorded with just some little shotgun mics off from our cameras, and we had kind of cords going all over the place, and we still got some cords, but
hopefully we can get these ones working good.
Yeah, we haven't figured out the headphone part of it yet, but that'll be next week's project. For now, we've got this pretty well set up. I kind of like these things.
At least we look professional either way. So
yeah, we sound like crap, but we look good.
Yeah,
so we don't look good, but this looks good. So so this past weekend, well, I guess the end of last week, into the weekend, what did you do? You did something. I thought we were done talking about turkeys, and you had to go and bring them back up.
Season isn't over until it's over, so I had a few days left, and it's lucky enough, it was actually my birthday to get out for another hunt, and able to put a stud of a tom down, so gotta be more thankful for that. It's the first bird I've ever killed on my birthday, so it was a good hunt.
Yeah, that was a really nice bird, and the hooks on that thing, the spurs, how big were those?
1.5 inches. He had about a 10-inch beard on him, 22 pounds, so.
Man, you're making us look bad.
Someone's got it.
Yeah, I guess. No, we got the footage all in today. Tyler's over here in the corner editing in on that right now, and it looked like it was a really good hunt. Shot it with your bow off the ground with no blind. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so me and Buddy Kyle went out to a property that he's got. We're kind of working our way back to the field edge, and just calling us. We were going back there, and got back to the edge of the field. And there was a little crust in the field, so I wanted to go over and kind of look over that, see if there's bird out there or not. And as we're going over there's fawn, so that's cool, a bonus that we got to see too. And then so we went back to wood edge, and then I started to sneak out, put the decoys out, look down the edge, and there was a tom down there. So crawled out, set the decoy, got in the woods. It was a real quick hunt, but I mean it worked out. Couldn't have been perfect. They caught me a little bit when I was coming to draw, but I was able to get an arrow on him before he got away. So
yeah, man, that's awesome to do that on your birthday at pretty much the end of the season, and with the expedition bow and no blind. That's a challenge, and that's a heck of a nice bird. So that's real cool. And that's your second bird of the year.
Yep. Got the one down in Kentucky earlier in the year. That was opening weekend, I believe, Kentucky season. So yeah, I've had a real good turkey season. I was able to get a couple other people on some birds too. So it was fun, and kind of sad that it's over now, but I'm ready for some deer. Yeah,
now we can focus on the deer, and that's when Tyler and I recorded episode 1 last week. We said we were done talking about turkeys. We're done, and you brought us back. But that's good. I'm glad you got another one. We got some more film, and that video is going to be coming out soon too. So, in the past week, I also had the chance to sit down with the Bow Hunter podcast. He spells it a little different. It's BW, I believe, .HNTR, Bow Hunter podcast. You can find him on Instagram, and we recorded with him. That was kind of fun. It was we talked about pretty much everything under the sun. The rise and bow hunting and some of the trips we're going to be doing this fall. So that was really cool. And he's going to have that out, I believe, he said June 15th, not January, June 15th. Yeah. So that'll be coming up. I'm looking forward to that coming out too. But I guess we're going to get right into the mix of things today. We're centering this whole video cast around public land hunting. Seems to be the new trend and the growing topic amongst everybody right now.
Yeah, it's getting bigger and bigger, especially in some of those Midwestern states. Not here in Michigan, no one wants to do it here, but we start getting Iowa, Missouri, Ohio. Those states are coming up, and especially the public land. A lot of people are starting to do it now.
Yeah, a lot of people are realizing that, hey, I don't have to own land and I can still hunt big deer. So there's the more Facebook and Instagram grows and YouTube and all this stuff, I think more people are realizing, hey, I can get out and I can hunt some pretty dang big deer on public ground.
That and all the leasing prices too are starting to skyrocket. So
It's so expensive.
It's getting harder and harder for the average guy to go out and have a chance at a good deer unless he goes and tries on public. So
Yeah, so no, we just kind of want to hop into the mix today on, we've both hunted quite a bit of public land throughout the years and kind of learned some do's and don'ts and things that have worked for us and things that haven't worked for us. So we want to kind of just get into the mix on that a little bit. And I mean, what's if you had to pick one overall go-to tip you could give somebody, what's your number one, do this?
mine is don't overlook the obvious. I mean, it's something is a thicket along the edge of the road. When we were down Ohio muzzleloader hunting, I was 60 yards off the road. Seen deer every sit. Didn't see a shooter, but it's still awesome hunting. It's just a lot of people think, oh, I got to hike way back in there, which can be awesome and really produce some of those better spots, get away from the hunters, but also don't overlook the obvious. When you're out there.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how many really good spots are right off the road, right out of the parking lot that people walk right past, or maybe there's not a parking lot, maybe it's just a small piece of public that they drive by it every day and they're heading to a bigger chunk of public and they don't even think to hunt it, and it's dynamite. So those little overlooked short walk-in areas that can produce, and they're not all that way, but there's a lot of really good spots. And I've hunted a spot like that in Missouri before where I'd park on the side of a road and I'd walk in maybe 150 yards on the back side of this pond. There's a big bedding area on the east side of it, and all day long there'd be bucks cruising in and out of there, crossing the road and everything. They don't care. The traffic doesn't bug them, not too often.
No, that's why that a few years back when I killed that one on public land here in Michigan, that was just something as simple as a tree falling on a fence and making a crossing, and he came right through there. It's just something as simple as that is all it takes.
I remember that spot. That was a cool little honey hole back in there too. It was a small public area, and it was surrounded by, that was a giant factory-owned land or something.
Yep,
where
used to be a factory, and a lot of the deer used as kind of a sanctuary and worked their way off of there, and just happened to be at the right place at the right time, and was able to put a stud of a deer down that.
Yeah, and when you're able to put together some pieces to the puzzle like this, like you said, a tree fell on the fence, and you were able to find that and think, hey, why isn't one of these factory deer going to come in on the public ground where I can shoot them? I mean, just those little things that you can use to your advantage are big.
Yeah, definitely. It's. I had pictures of that deer at nighttime, and it was just a matter of time before, sure enough, he'd show up in daylight. So. Right,
and I guess with that said, I mean, a lot of our sets we do hike back in quite a ways. Yeah. We're trucking it back in. I mean, because that most of the time is where the less pressure is. There are some honey holes up close to the road and stuff like that, but more times than not, we're trucking it back in as far as we can and crossing 3 creeks and 7 ridges and and whatever we can do to get away from everyone else. But do you have any tricks or tips for that?
Oh, probably. One thing I was doing when, for example, going back to the Michigan one, is I was riding my mountain bike back in there. The place actually had some trails through there, which I know a lot of public lands usually either have horse trails or something along those lines. I was riding my mountain bike back in there. Made the trip a little bit quicker and a little bit easier, and especially when you're trying to carry all that stuff, I'd strap it all to the mountain bike and away I would go. And it actually works really good to get a deer out too.
yeah, I remember that picture of you dragging that deer out with the deer had its legs over the handlebars, and that was great. But yeah, no, anything you can use to make your trip into the trek back into the woods a little easier. That's huge. A lot of times we pack really light and mobile that way. If we're walking a mile, I'll put all my layers on my Badlands pack, my outer layers, and I'll walk in basketball shorts or just my base layers, and I'll get dressed at the base of the tree and climb up the tree, and so you don't sweat.
Yeah. Anything you can do to help keep that scent down from sweating, or even too, when it's cold out, when you sweat, it just
you're gonna freeze. Yeah. That's huge. And I guess another thing is keeping your gear, your tree stands, stuff like that, as light as possible. Are there any stands you've used that are really? Now, did you get into saddle hunting at all, or is that somebody else I was talking to the other day?
I haven't, but we've definitely considered it. Seems like it's been growing the last few years. It was a thing, and that disappeared, and now it's starting to come back. A lot more guys going to the public again, so it's a thought. But
yeah, you're seeing a lot of guys use those saddles these days, and I'll be honest with you. I climbed up in one last summer. I'm not comfortable in it. I can see how it can be very deadly. You know, you
Yeah.
can hike back in and just scurry up a tree and you're sitting, but my luck, I'd fall over backwards that thing, which you still strap yourself in,
Yeah.
but I just I don't know. I don't know if it's my cup of tea really.
Definitely a way to get in there nice and light. I mean, literally, you can throw a couple, strap-on steps in your pocket and away you go and climb up in a tree. But, like you said, I don't know if it's quite my thing. I still got to try it out, and we'll go from there. But
It would be interesting. Okay, so here we go. The first Rise member to kill a deer out of a saddle. What do they win? What are we gonna give to them? I'm gonna give them a hunt on Tyler's farm.
All right, deal.
You hear that, Tyler?
I hear he's got some good late season beans, so we'll save it for.
Well,
a
they're
late
not
season
in.
hunt.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else across the Midwest has been dealing with this rain lately, but oh my goodness.
It's they're standing water everywhere. It seems like, and feel bad for the farmers. Thankfully I don't.
I
really
feel bad for me. I feel bad for my deer.
Yeah, especially Tyler. I believe we saw a video the other day of him going out there and it was standing water everywhere. But
His whole north side of his property is a lake. It's flooded. I mean, we got 4 night on top of a week long spell of rain, and it's just not. But we're talking public land today. We're not playing beans on public land. We'll save that for next week. So what's your favorite state to hunt public land in? If you had to pick one place you were gonna go.
Oh man, I've had a lot of good luck out in Wyoming on public land. So I'm probably got to go with that.
Way out west.
It's open terrain, so you can see the deer. I love being able to visualize. They may be a mile away, and I might not be able to get to them, but at least I can see them. Try to put a game plan together, and we've had some really good luck out there, and we've killed some great deer out there the last 2 trips that we've went. So
Now, when you go to Wyoming, are you rifle hunting or are you bow hunting?
out there rifle hunting. I applied for a tag this year, so if we draw this year, get go and probably give it a shot with the bow. That's something I really want to do is to spot and stalk with the bow on a mule deer, or out there you can shoot a whitetail even on the same tag. So I'm good for either one.
That would be pretty fun. That's you can spot them from a ways away and figure out what you've got to do to get in on them. But what's the hunting pressure like with other people around that area?
I mean, you definitely get it. I mean, you're gonna get it in any state, but the difference out there is a lot of the people, they have a different type of hunting out there where they don't go far from the truck if they even leave the road to really. That's their way of scouting, is drive around, find a deer in the truck, and then go make a move on it. So you can definitely get away from the people a lot easier out there. Obviously, there's the diehard guys that are hiking back in there, and all that, but. Like I said, we've had some really good luck out there, and I'm definitely looking forward to hopefully drawing a tag this year and making our way back out.
Now, when you head out to a piece of public ground, what are some things you're looking for?
Food and cover.
Food and cover.
It's most of the time we're doing all our scouting on aerials, on Huntwise or anything along those lines, Google Earth or whatever you can get your hands on. I was always looking for some food's got to be somewhere close by. Grant, there's all the natural browse there can be, but I like having some sort of food source to be able to parent those deer going to and from the food the best way we can. And then next is, try to look for that thicker cover. It's hard to do on an aerial, but you can still find it.
Now, is this scouting you're doing, I guess, before season, or is this during season scouting?
Both. Always scouting. Always scouting. You always got to be on your toes. You always got to be paying attention, and you just kind of adapt as you go.
Yeah, that's, you and I had the chance to scout out some public ground in Iowa this spring.
Yeah.
And, kind of had hopes of maybe hunting it this fall, which we kind of decided to hunt a different area with maybe some less pressure on it. But getting into those areas early in the year like that and being able to see those runways and rubs and even still some scrapes on the ground and stuff, there was snow there, but you could tell where there was licking branches and stuff. That is a big part of your success in the fall, is being able to see that cover and the stuff you're dealing with no leaves.
Yeah, exactly. You can definitely tell where the cover's at then. And I mean, when we walked that chunk, we were pretty much almost able to pinpoint trees that we were going to hang stands in potentially, and we just decided to go elsewhere.
Yeah, that's one thing, is if you can pick out a tree that you know, okay, this is the tree. I'm gonna come back in November. I'm gonna hang a stand right here, and you can do that in March or April or whenever it may be, February. That's gonna save you so much hassle and headache in November when you've only got so many days to use, to be in the woods, to be able to narrow those areas down earlier in the year. That's key if you ask me.
It makes it to a point where you can pretty much drive there in the middle of the night, wake up, go hang a stand in that tree right there because you already know where it's at. Yeah, versus having to burn in the morning of scouting, and then all you're doing at that point is just laying your scent down everywhere, bumping deer out, ruining your chance before you even have an opportunity.
Yeah, and I guess with that though, in-season scouting is big too, because you might go in and scout a spot in March on public ground, and it's, okay, this is my spot, this is dynamite, I got my tree picked out, there's rubs, there's scrapes everywhere, this can be my spot. And you show up in November and there's 3 trucks in the parking lot. So that's another thing you got to keep in mind. You've got to, during season, do laps around those public areas and see where the people are not, because typically where the deer or the people are not, there's going to be some deer, or at least unpressured deer.
Yeah, definitely. You always got to be on your toes no matter what when it comes to public hunting. It's just, you got to learn to adapt as the season goes. MRI is going to be your best friend, and like I said, just be on your toes as much as you can, because you never know what's going to be thrown at your way.
And now for people that don't know, MRI, what are you speaking of?
Most recent information. So, trail camera pictures if you have them, sightings, you got buddies out there, whatever the case may be, any information that you can gather anyway, that's going to be the most beneficial to you at that time.
And a lot of that comes from just putting boots on the ground or driving, putting miles on the truck. Those two, that alone will tell you so much about a piece of public. If you're driving by on a Saturday and there's nobody in the parking lots around this whole area on a Saturday during November,
it's worth a look.
It's probably worth going for a walk, because there's probably some deer in there that haven't seen a person all year.
There's either a reason no one's there and you don't want to be there either, or you might just found yourself a little honey hole.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna give you one of my little tricks here that I'm like a Google Earth and like Google fanatic when it comes to scouting public land. So what I've been doing the past couple of years is I'll go in to Google and I'll type in land for sale near area, or say we're in Kansas, I'll do a county, and then from that land for sale, a lot of land for sale nowadays on the internet has trail camera photos. You learn what kind of quality of deer are in the area, and then you pinpoint, okay, is this only a mile from a piece of public, or is it right next? Does it border public land, or is it 5 miles away? You can learn a lot just by land that's for sale on the internet.
Yeah, and depending on how much land it is too, if they're doing some serious management and you can get somewhere close to that, you're already one step ahead of the game as far as I'm concerned. Yeah,
and by no means do I promote sitting on a fence, someone's fence line, but if you can get in that block of timber in the rut and they're growing big deer, they're gonna probably come through that chunk of woods, So
deer, they go wherever they want.
Yeah, they get on hot dough, and
there's no boundaries for them.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, just the other day, a friend of mine, we were scouting out some Kansas stuff, and doing the same thing on Google, looking for land for sale. Found a chunk of land. It was a big piece, maybe 600 acres in the county he was looking to hunt, and it bordered 3 walking areas, basically all around it. And the deer they were killing in the past 5 years, I think they killed like a 202, 190, 180, the list went on. It was crazy. So I think he found himself a spot. He's gonna be out there this November.
Yeah, I think I'd be going to hang a stand right about now.
Yeah, he's gonna go do a summer trip. Kind of look for some velvet bucks. And that's another thing too. Summer scouting. If you can't make it out in the spring, you can't get out there and put boots on the ground, and when there's no forage or foliage, that's July, August. If you can just get out to these public grounds and drive the areas. Check out the food plots, the bean fields, even if it's a private bean field across the road. You can just see what kind of quality of deer on the area.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to get in the general area is all you got to do. I mean, if you see a 200-inch deer and he's a mile away from the public, well, you never know. He may make his way over there or, butting up to the public. Just look at the surrounding areas when you're out there doing that. Are
you telling me you found a 200-inch deer on public?
I wish.
Don't lie to me, Nick.
We are going to Iowa, so the potential's there.
We're hoping anyway. We, Nick, you put in for an Iowa tag.
Yep.
That's your plan.
Fingers crossed. It's about 50-50 chance, and either way, I know you're going out there around the 4th of July weekend to do a little bit of scouting, and either way, I'll probably be tagging along just because I love it out there. I mean, every trip we go, I'm just drooling the whole time.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool place there, and I think I caught word that one of our buddies might be setting you up on his little secret slice of
I
public
sure hope
land.
so. I
Yeah,
sure hope so.
I think he might even let you sit in his stand if you're nice enough to him.
You know, I might have to buy him some beer if that's the case.
Yeah, I'm not gonna mention his name, but I think if he's listening, he knows who we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, we're getting pretty excited for that. What else can we touch on for public land? What other tips, tactics, tricks?
Oh,
What do you got? Magic tricks? Is that sometimes that's what it takes?
no, Tyler, he likes to dip into the Ohio public land quite a bit recently. We all have. We've all gotten our feet wet there, and you know, some of the things too that down in the areas where we're at is pretty hilly country. I mean, it's rough, but if you get a couple 3 ridges back or so, no one wants to walk that far. Get back in there, get on those saddles, try to find a good saddle that's got some good sign on, good runways, good rubs. I mean, just don't overthink it. Deer are simple in a way, but they're also, you know, they're well educated. They know how to avoid hunters pretty good, but if you can find that good sign, get in there.
Yeah, no, I agree. A lot of times I think we maybe overthink the game a little bit, and on unpressured deer, they're probably quite a bit easier to figure out than pressured deer, which you deal with a lot in public land. But, you know, in Ohio, like you're saying, or even Kentucky, some of these public lands, you're dealing with huge, big Mount Everest style hills.
Yeah.
Tyler knows all about them, trust me, I know. And, yeah, it sucks, but if you can hike back in over those ridges, you know, and don't overlook your close to the road spots, because they're still there too. But if you can get back in over a couple of these ridges into the middle of a section, there's some deer that don't really see people too often.
Yeah. I mean, I got some property down there in Kentucky, and you can stand up on top of a hill, and as far as you can see is just woods and woods and woods. I mean, I know there's deer down there that I don't even have a clue about that really aren't even that far away. But
yeah, and that's hunting those big woods areas is kind of crazy. You know, it helps because you don't get the pressure.
Yeah.
But overall deer numbers, I'm not sure the deer numbers are lower, but there's more land for them to cover. They're harder to narrow down.
Yeah.
So your all day sits, you're not going to see as many deer as you would in farm country.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you really don't have that cornfield or that bean field to kind of be able to pattern them going to and from, you know, food to bed. But a lot, you know, it's a lot of natural browse, acorns, and everything else down there. They really don't have much of rhyme or reason to go one place or another at any certain time. So, I mean, you really have just a good chance of walking up on a deer like I did down in Kentucky this year. That's how I killed mine. I popped over a ridge saddle and was able to get a shot off
And there
on
he
him.
was. Yeah.
You know, there's
in that big woods, I feel like a lot of times you've got to, it's like you said, it's different than they're not going to be going to a bean field every night. You got to figure out what they're feeding on. If you're in the rut, find the does, find where the does are living, which their home range is probably pretty small. If it's an acorn ridge that they're working hard, get in there and sit that ridge all week. Even if you only see a handful of does, eventually when one of those does comes into heat, there's those big woods bucks are going to come cruising through. They're just like farm country, even looking for does in the rut.
One thing too with the bigger timber like that I've noticed is if you can find a good sized scrape where, you know, it seems like a few deer are actually using it, those deer are more prone to hit those scrapes during daylight than they are on the edge of the field. You know, they don't want to be out in the open like that during the daylight, but in the big timber like that, when they're surrounded by cover, they're more prone to slip up in daylight and hit that scrape. So that's another thing you kind of try to focus on too during the rut.
Yeah, they're much more secluded, and you're right in their bedroom really, and that's a great way to get on them for sure, is hunting scrapes in the big timber. We've had much luck doing that in Ohio, but we've also had not a lot of luck doing that in Ohio. I took Tyler down to a spot last year, and we hiked up one of the biggest hills. It's got to be one of the biggest hills in southern Ohio, and we sat this spot for 3 days, which historically we've hunted years past, and it's been a terrific spot. Not a lot of people want to go up this hill, and it's really not that far off the road. It's just this hill. It's a cliff, dang near. You almost need climbing gear.
Miniature mountain.
It's crazy to get up this thing, but we got to the top of this hill and we waited it out for 3 days. You know, we obviously come down and went to the hotel and got some food and went to bed. But each day we hunted it. Never saw a single deer, but it was destroyed. I mean, rubs, scrapes everywhere, and that's something you got to know going in big woods is you're probably not going to see a ton of deer. So be ready for some long, uneventful sits.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, down in Kentucky where I hunt, it's all big timber down there. I mean, if I go down there and hunt a weekend hard and I see 3 deer, well, I had a successful weekend. That's on private land too, not even getting public pressure. But that's just how it is in those areas when you get in that big timbers. I mean, granted, this could be different in every state and different every area, but I mean, be prepared to see very minimal deer, but the chances of seeing a good buck are pretty good.
Yeah, that's definitely a challenging but fun way to hunt. What else can we run about on some public land here? Any good stories you've got? Anything you want to share?
Well, there's always stories, but then we'd be on here for about 2 more hours, and I know we got wrap up with Tim here soon. So
yeah, I'm not sure exactly how long we've been going here.
About 25 minutes, Tyler's saying. So
okay. Well,
I don't know. Maybe just give a little shout out to all our sponsors, and
Yeah, we can wrap this thing up. Like I said, we're kind of cut short for time here, but we will be recording. We got some pretty exciting stuff next week to talk about. That our next episode is probably going to be a touch longer than this one, but we may even dive a little more in depth to these topics. But no, we want to give a big shout out to Expedition. How's that new Mako shooting? How you like that thing?
I love it. I mean, I work on my own bows. I've been playing with that thing nonstop. I just can't stop. And but that thing is just shooting lights out right now. And that bird that I shot last week was on the move, and I was still able to get an arrow in him. And when you're that confident in your setup, then it's a good shooting bow then.
Yeah, and I actually got the comment today from a guy I work with. He said, "Hey, that bow that Nick shot that bird with, man, that thing is quick." Because he watched the video and it saw how fast it was. But
yeah, that Mako's screaming.
Yeah. So Chris and Kurt and all the guys over there at Expedition, we really appreciate them helping us out this year, and the guys at Badlands.
Yeah.
Man, what do you got to say?
Nothing but great things. I mean, we can't thank those guys enough. For all the help and support that they've given us, and their gear. I can't wait to see some of the newer stuff that they've been teasing us with coming out.
But, yeah, they got some cool stuff coming out later this year, and more whitetail hunter catered gear, which tree stand hunter. I guess it's gonna be great. I can't wait for that to come out. Yeah. And the new Approach FX. I mean, I haven't found a person yet that doesn't like that pattern.
No, I mean you can't go wrong with either one, but it's pretty slick looking. I mean, I got that vest I wear pretty much every day when it's sweatshirt weather. So.
Yeah. And big shout out to Stick and Pick, the guys over there getting our trail cameras all mounted up. If it wasn't for them, we probably just wouldn't run cameras, would we? No, their mounts make things a lot easier.
Yes,
whether we're putting cameras on a field edge or hanging them way up in a tree on some public ground where people can't see them or whatever it may be, they're so handy. They've got them out for everything, so check them out.
Yeah, definitely.
And Back 40 buck calls. They got a turkey call now. They got the buck call. Excited to see what else he's going to come out with. He's always innovating and always working on something new. And
maybe he'll make us some special one to try out this fall for him.
We should mention that to him if you happen to listen.
Keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind. That'd be cool. But, and then the HuntWise app. We just we started using that here in the past year, and that's been a really really cool app. Really handy. A lot of nice maps. And what I love about that app, and I think it's the same thing you love about that app, is you can get people's phone number off from just touching on their property.
Yes, that's huge. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've been trying Google search and white pages, trying to find the number, and then, they just make a nice simple click on the picture or click on the property line, and there you go. There's the phone number.
And then you got permission, you're hunting, everything. Everything's good. Maybe.
Hopefully.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's wrap this thing up. We're going to hop on live with Badlands here in about 20 minutes, and we'll see you guys next week.